Hey, it's Ron, and I want to tell you a story about business and how that story changed everything. It's January 7th, 1927, and Abe Saperstein is pacing a narrow gym in Hinckley, Illinois. The air smells like liniment and sawdust. The lights buzz. He's counting heads in the crowd, maybe 200, maybe less. Not bad for a Friday night in a town that doesn't even have a stoplight. Behind him, 6 young men from Chicago's South Side stretch quietly in mismatched uniforms. They call themselves the New York Harlem Globetrotters, though none of them have ever even been to Harlem, and Globetrotters is just Abe's latest marketing gamble. But he knows exactly what he's doing. Harlem means black excellence. It means jazz, speed, energy, the opposite of everything small-town basketball looks like. And it sells tickets. He straightens his tie and glances at the team's only basketball. It's worn smooth from too many practices. It's not much, but it's enough. The referee calls everybody to the floor. The crowd claps politely, not quite sure what to expect. Abe leans against the bleachers, notebook in hand, watching as his players move. Faster, sharper, cleaner than anyone else on the court. But he's not thinking about basketball. He's thinking about possibility, about a name, what we nowadays call a brand, a show that could travel anywhere. And as the whistle blows on his first game in a drafty Illinois gym, Abe Saperstein's side hustle becomes the start of a global business. But how does a shoestring team in borrowed uniforms turn a tiny gym into the launch pad for a worldwide brand? Why would one promoter's instinct for showmanship matter more than the scoreboard that night? And on January 7th, 1927, how did a single game in Hinckley, Illinois become the spark that sent the Harlem Globetrotters around the world? From Business Basics, I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the daily podcast where we explain the stories that changed business forever. Throughout history, every date of the year has a story where business reshaped the world. Today, January 7th, that story takes us to 1927, when the Harlem Globetrotters play their first game. Abe wasn't a basketball player. He was 5'3" and built like a pocket knife. But he understood promotion. He'd spent years running local leagues around Chicago, booking gyms, printing flyers, and hustling crowds one handshake at a time. By the mid-1920s, he had noticed something. The best basketball in the city wasn't happening in college arenas. It was happening in the black neighborhoods. Players who couldn't join segregated teams were dominating industrial leagues and barnstorming circuits, playing fast, fluid, and fearless. Abe saw talent, and he saw an opening. He pulled together a handful of these athletes, promised them steady work, and gave them a name he knew would catch attention: Harlem. To white audiences, Harlem meant jazz and sophistication, a shorthand for black culture that carried both novelty and respect. He hired a van, bought uniforms on credit, even though they didn't all match, and started booking small-town games across the Midwest. Every stop was the same pitch: come see the Harlem Globetrotters, the fastest team in basketball. Now, there were no globes, no tricks, no comedy, just grit, speed, and a few dollars a night split 7 ways. But Abe had planted the seed of something bigger. Basketball not as a league sport, but as a traveling business built on charisma and control. The team hit the road, night after night, state after state, school gyms, armories, county fairs, long drives, cheap meals, and racist crowds. Some towns cheered, others locked the doors after the game so the players couldn't use the same exit as the locals. Abe handled logistics, booking, money, and sometimes refereeing when locals refused. What started as a hustle turned into a system. They built a schedule, a reputation, and an identity. The Globetrotters began adding flair. a behind-the-back pass here, a wink to the crowd there. Small touches that made audiences laugh and players proud. Then came the Great Depression. While pro leagues collapsed, the Globetrotters survived because they were portable. No stadium contracts, no investors, no gatekeepers. Just a van, a ball, and the freedom to play anywhere people would pay to watch. By the late 1930s, Abe realized he wasn't selling basketball anymore. He was selling entertainment, and he leaned into that. Music, trick shots, rehearsed gags. Every show tightened the formula. Skill first, comedy second, and community always. Audiences packed gyms for the showmanship, but they left talking about the players. Black athletes performing with joy and confidence in front of white crowds. Abe's brand of basketball had become something new. Sport as spectacle. Competition as culture.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
By the time World War II ended, the Harlem Globetrotters had played in every kind of gym America could offer, and a few that barely deserved the name. But the world was about to get bigger. In 1948, Abe booked a game against the Minneapolis Lakers, the top all-white pro team in the country. And you know what happened? The Globetrotters won. Twice. It was more than a score, it was a statement. The victories forced sports promoters and fans to admit what they'd tried to ignore, that the best players weren't confined to segregated leagues. And with that in mind, Abe seized the moment. He took the team overseas, pitching them as ambassadors of American skill and spirit. Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, crowds lined up to watch the show. Part basketball, part vaudeville, all performance. The ball fakes, the spinning passes, the music, every routine polished to perfection. And behind the laughs, the Globetrotters changed the business of sports. They proved that brand mattered as much as league, that entertainment could travel faster than competition, and that culture could make money long after the scoreboard went dark. When the NBA finally integrated, it was playing catch-up with a barnstorming act that had already conquered the world. Abe Saperstein had started with 6 players, 1 van, and a borrowed basketball. By the time he was done, he had built a brand recognized in nearly every country on Earth, one that turned basketball into business and business into a show. I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the podcast that finds the turning points behind the headlines. To hear more stories like this, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. And if you're enjoying the stories, don't forget to subscribe and leave a quick review. It helps more people find the story behind the business. And do you want to actually understand business without the fluff or the buzzwords or the MBA language? Start by visiting us at businessdailypodcast.com.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Wondery.